Welcome here to the first episode of Nastradamus, Week 1. IU takes on Indiana State. Going to do a little bit different this year. Video with each article. Going to have IU Sportcom members join me each week if I can. Joining me, my boss here, the first week, the one and only James Pierce Cavanaugh
I'm
the
just
fourth.
keeping an eye on you, Sean. I want to make sure that it all goes smoothly.
Yeah, I've had a rough week here moving in at IU. Gas leak at the house. You can see the space bar on my MacBook is missing. I'm ready for football to start and just to get me back in my zone and relaxed. But we need to talk about IU started off 30.5-point favorites over Indiana State here. It's dropped down to 24 cents, but that's got to be the highest IU's ever had for a starting line.
Definitely for a while. I could not believe my ears when I saw it. It was a couple roommates who brought it up to me, actually. And when I heard it, I kind of looked across from them. I was eating at Denny's, and I spit my pancake syrup across the table. Because it made no sense. Last year was a 24-17 game, and Indiana State had the ball with a chance to Hail Mary into the end zone to tie that sucker up and take it to overtime. Maybe even win on a 2-point conversion. Shakir Bell looked great. He's a top-quality running back. Kevin Wilson had nothing but good things to say about him all week. And it sounded like he wouldn't have minded if Shakir Bell was on IU's squad instead of Indiana State's. He's got a lot of respect for these guys. I think he's expecting a big win, but 30.5 seemed a little high just based on last year.
I mean, it's been 2 years already, Shakir Bell being one of the FCS top running backs. And again, IU's defense obviously going to be the question again this year, and we'll see if Bell, how well he does against this defense. A lot of younger guys coming in, a few returning guys, but defense obviously going to be the big question for IU in 2013.
The big question. And then you look at the starters on this defense. They return a lot of guys. The only players they lose are Adam Replogle, Larry Black. Replogle made the first round of cuts with the Falcons the other night. Larry Black caught on with the Bengals, suffered a gruesome-looking knee injury. He's got a long way back. Both of them, though, were very talented players last year and are the only two players Indiana is looking to replace on that defensive front. So far, it seems they've done a good job with it. Ralph Green, one of the guys, a big 340-pounder, was the first overall pick in the supplemental draft for the spring game for this team, if that tells you anything. They've got an experienced secondary and a bunch of young guys coming in at all three levels. David Kenny and Latham on the line, a couple guys, Christopher Smith, chief among them in the linebacking core, and then in the secondary, Antonio Allen, a big hitting safety from Ben Davis. That, along with the experience these guys have in the system, I think we can expect the defense to at least be respectable at times this year. And that's all they need to do with the offensive talent they have on the other side of the ball.
But, I mean, how good does this team have to be? I mean, we saw them give up 700 yards to Northwestern last year. Obviously, there's nowhere but up from there. So where do they need to get to here? Maybe not just – I don't think this game is as much of a worry, but here in the few weeks leading up to the Big Ten schedule.
Well, I think this game will be an indicator because Shakir Bell ran wild last year. He did a good job. He had over 100 yards. I think he had close to 160. I mean, they gave him the ball and he did stuff. I don't know right now if that's going to change at all because the Indiana defense, while being experienced, is still young and they weren't particularly good last year. So I'm going to be interested to see how they handle Bell and how they handle the starting quarterback, Parrish, and all those other guys. If they can hold Indiana State to about the same they did last year, maybe even a little better, it's going to tell me the defense hasn't taken a big step back. If the defense can avoid taking that step back, I think the offense is going to make up for it by taking a step forward. Sean, I really like this offense. Ask me about the offense.
I know. We're quite a second, and we haven't started talking about IU's offense. What realistically...
Offense? Yes? Okay.
I've been trying to get a number on what should be realistically expected on how many points they're going to average this year.
A lot.
I think 35 is a realistic number. With how fast this offense works and with the spread offense, no huddle, I really think 35 points should be the goal every game, at least.
I think that's fair because I'm looking at this team. I'm trying to find a weakness. Dan Feeney just went down, the starting offensive guard. I believe the right guard. They're trying to figure out who goes in behind him. David Kaminsky is on that list. Also on that list, Jacob Bailey, former Cathedral guy.
Pride of the Irish there.
And Ralston Evans, a former Arlington offensive lineman who's been in the program for a couple of years. That is the only real question mark because every one of those linemen with the exception of Colin Rarick, who's stepping in for Will Matty, the longtime center, has a ton of experience. Evans has been around for a while. I think right now that's probably the guy they go with.
And the offensive line, was probably the weakest aspect of that side of the ball for the Hoosiers. I think for the first time this year, they finally have 300-pounders. They look like Big Ten linemen out there.
My favorite quote from Kevin Wilson this offseason was that before this year, they didn't have one guy who was a 300-pounder on the offensive line. This year, they averaged 300 pounds on the offensive line. He's always been very complimentary of Spriggs. Jason Spriggs, the left tackle, has a full extra year of experience under his belt. He played last year at about 267 pounds. He's had time to fill out. And then you look at the skill position players, because they are obscenely deep at wide receiver and at running back. Tight end, not a bad position either. Ted Bolser is on the Mackey Award watch list. Sudfeld, Roberson, and or Kaufman will all have the opportunity to throw to a bevy of skill position players and hand off to a couple running backs.
I mean, again, 6 minutes in, finally mentioned the 3 quarterback candidates for the Hoosiers. Coach Wilson still is not named a starter. Who gets the first snap?
I'm on record, Trey Roberson. I'm Team Trey. Team Trey, I don't know if you're Team Nate, Team Cam. Trey Roberson, the most dynamic player for Indiana at quarterback, and Kevin Wilson said that his biggest thing with quarterback was going to be dynamism. That gives me the idea that Trey Roberson is going to be the starter, and I've always liked the idea of Trey Roberson starting. Now, that said, Nate Sudfeld, probably the closest thing to an NFL prospect that Indiana has on the roster for quarterback. And he's a big kid, he's got a strong arm, and he looks a lot better than he did as a true freshman at this time last year. I was at a couple practices. His footwork was a long way away, and it has come a very long way. I think he could be effective if he gets the chance to play. And Cam Kaufman, I can't belittle what he's done. He's been successful, too, when he's had the opportunity to play.
Hashtag Team Nate.
Team
Nate. When it comes to quarterback, I'd like to see him.
We should make these T-shirts. I'll be Team Trey, you be Team Nate.
That's fine. We'll wear them in the press box on Thursday night.
I like that.
I'm sure we won't get in trouble for that at all.
Nah.
Or we could go with Team Cam. What was the word Wilson used? Was it moxie?
Moxie. Now, if I'm Cam Kaufman, I'm offended because being a quarterback means having a big arm or being dynamic. Me hearing that I have a lot of moxie gives the idea that, oh, this kid, he's a try-hard, scruffy guy, I'm sure a lot of the players on Indiana State have moxie. They're also not very good. And Cam Kaufman, I'm sure, prides himself on being a skilled player. The fact that he doesn't have as big of an arm or the running ability that Trey Roberson or Nate Sudfeld do makes me think that his skill set and his ceiling is somewhat limited. So I don't really see where he comes into play, and for all we know, he could be the starter. Everyone's been talking about Roberson or Sudfeld. It would be a total Wilson move. Hashtag TWM to put Cam Kaufman in the starting lineup.
It's funny, I was talking to Nick Reith, a sport commer, our tweet manager, our Twitter manager over there. Talking to him this morning.
Team Wright, yeah.
I wouldn't put it past Coach Wilson to change up all their numbers, switch their names on the back of their jerseys just to throw everyone for a loop. Throw number 68 at quarterback out there so we just have to guess who the quarterback is this week.
Have Sudfeld grow a beard so he looks like Kaufman.
One last touch on the offense. Who of the skill position players do you expect to have the most breakout? I guess I don't want to say breakout, but the most productivity. As you mentioned, they have 3 running backs capable of starting, 4 wide receivers that are capable of being the number 1 receiver. Who do you see?
I want to say Stephen Houston because I think he is the second or third best back in the Big Ten, if not better. Stephen Houston, when he goes, he goes. He's tremendous. He has breakaway speed, and he's the most powerful runner I've ever seen at Indiana in my limited time here. That being said, I don't know if I can because right now he's not listed as the starting running back. Tevin Coleman is. The coaches do this with Stephen Houston every year for whatever reason. Perhaps it's the way that he approaches practice, which we are not able to see. That being the case, I'm going to give it to Cody Latimer because Latimer, in his time last year, was superb. He's the team's best deep threat. He's tremendously powerful with strong hands and good deep speed. I think he has a chance to blow the lid off a couple defenses this year. And if he gets behind guys in the secondary, I think Latimer is going to have a chance to score some touchdowns, go up for some jump balls, and put up some impressive numbers this year, no matter who's throwing to him.
Now, you might claim some bias on this one, but I'm going to go with Kofi Hughes on this side.
I might.
Just because with when you talk about Latimer there with the opportunity, I don't think a lot of these receivers are so good that I don't know if any defense can single out one wide receiver and double team him. And if you leave Latimer and Hughes both single coverage, either one of them can blow by any defender on this schedule that they have and can put up a lot of touchdowns this year.
I agree 100%.
So we've kind of done a little bit more of a preseason preview, touched a little bit on Indiana State. So, Jimmy, I want your predictions on final season record for Indiana and score-wise. What's the score going to be Thursday night, and who wins?
All right, final record, I'm going to say 8-4. I think they win a lot of games. I think they lose one at home, and I think they win a road game that they're not expected to win. They play a very tough road schedule, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. So look for a win in there somewhere. I think Michigan State's the best candidate. Maybe they sneak up on OSU. That would be fun, wouldn't it? I wouldn't say it's all that likely, but I think they're going to win one of those road games. And sorry to cut you off, I'll just finish with this last one, the score prediction. I'm going to say Indiana does blow the doors off of Indiana State. I think these guys are ready to begin the season, and they finally have the talent to come out big time and fire on all cylinders. I'm going to say final score, something like 49-17.
I was just going to say I'll be on the call for Ohio State for WIUX like you will be this Thursday night.
Shameless
for the
plug.
Game. Shameless plugs right there.
WIUX.org.
I was just going to say I hope it's a close game because I don't want to call a blowout in favor of the Buckeyes. I'm going to go season record 6-6. They will make a bowl game, probably play in the Motor City Bowl against the MAC champions. I don't see them winning a single game on the road. Until I see them on the field, how this defense plays, I'm not confident that they're going to go into Michigan State. No way they win at Camp Randall because IU can't win at Wisconsin in any sport. And Ohio State might be one of the best teams in the country this year. On Thursday night, I'm going to go same point score for Indiana State, 17 points. Indiana will put up 41. They'll kind of leave a little bit of question there because it'll be the same start. They gave up 17 points again. We expect this offense to be explosive, but the defense is still going to be a question. But we'll have, I think, a lot more questions answered after next week's game against Navy. So, Jimmy, your final thoughts before we sign off here.
I think we've given them. I think the defense needs to step up. The defense is going to be crucial for Indiana's success this year. We know what the offense can do, and we've seen them put up tremendous numbers. They scored 49 points against Ohio State. That's the most the Buckeyes had given up before last year since 1994. I don't know if you were even alive then, Sean, and if you were,
I was just a year old.
You were very young. Now, that being the case, we know that with the offense, defense needs to come up big, and I think they do that this year.
I know you want to give a shout-out to somebody before you were mentioning it before.
I had two shout-outs I wanted to do. One to Tracy Grady, over the head. I had forgotten that. T-Mac, love you, man. And also, Miley Cyrus. Hey, yo, girl.
I'm editing that out.
No? Okay. That's fair.